Hi, welcome to another episode of With the Mic, and for today's episode, we're in the beautiful brand new restaurant of Flossmoor Social, a new restaurant within the beautiful South Suburban village of Flossmoor. Today we're here to interview a congressional candidate who's running on the basis of supporting communities like this within the 2nd District. I think that's perfect, as this venue right here is built on supporting local businesses around Flossmoor. Awesome, right? And so let's roll that intro and stay tuned for this episode of With the Mic right here in Flossmoor.
Hey, can I have a seat?
Absolutely, be my guest.
Thank you.
Not much at this bar, but I can offer you a political interview with a 20-year-old about the modern day society and what we have issues with in modern day politics, or a glass of water. What would you prefer?
Let's have the interview.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so, start. My name is Mike. What's your name and what do you do?
Mike, I am Donna Miller. I'm currently a Cook County Commissioner, and I am the Democratic nominee for Congress in Illinois 2nd Congressional District, which is this area that we're in.
A pleasure to meet you.
Nice
That's
to
awesome.
meet you too. Yeah.
And so what is I'm back here as an interviewer, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but what does a Cook County Commissioner do?
Well, Cook County Commissioner is responsible for the budget of the county, Cook County. Cook County happens to be the 2nd largest county in the country.
Represent.
That's right. So we're responsible for public health, public safety, and we have the largest forest preserves here in Cook County.
They are beautiful.
They're beautiful, 70,000 acres. It's unprecedented.
And so, I have a recognizable photo, because I just keep a book of photos back here behind the bar of someone. In fact, it'll just flip out for me at some point here, because I had it, and then we're just going to play this off like this was easily accessible. It's stuck in there.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Do you recognize this person?
Who's that girl? Yes, I knew her from college.
From college?
Yes.
Very cool.
That's me in college.
Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful.
I think I still like the same color. This is the same color that I have on today.
It's a good color on you.
Yeah.
Well, in that girl in college, was she always planning to get into politics? Was that her plan from that get-go?
Not exactly. So actually, when I was in college, I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and I worked on Capitol Hill for 2 years as an intern for a senator. And I keep telling young people, internships, you don't get paid. You didn't get paid then. Some internships, you still don't get paid, mostly political ones. So I love being on Capitol Hill. I worked behind the scenes. I always thought I was going to be a behind the scenes person doing policy. I got a job offer. And these are my parents here in this picture. And so when I got the job offer, my parents said, well, you're not going to really make any money at that job. And I was like, so? So they said, no, you're really not going to make any money. Like, you're not going to be able to have a car, an apartment. I had a car that my dad bought me. He said, so you won't be able to pay for that car. So I suggest you look for another job.
They were looking out for you.
Yes.
And you've been very outspoken about how much you love your family and how much they inspire you. Your dad was a Pullman porter. I know
my great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather was a Pullman porter.
Yes.
Your dad served.
Yes.
Can you talk about what your family does and how much they inspire you to keep on doing what you're doing?
Well, as I look back, I do see my family as having a life full of service, and everyone just did that in their professional careers. My father was in the military. He was in the Army, full colonel, and did many different jobs in the Army, but learned about service and love of country from just living that life. My mother was a teacher in Chicago Public Schools, so I have 4 generations of CPS teachers in my family, multiple generations of servicemen in the military in my family. So I think I learned all about being part of the community, giving back to a community, and service to your community is just something that's given.
Absolutely. And you give me a great transition, because community. That's really what I like about this show and what I want to talk about. And we're in the 2nd District right now. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about this community, how vibrant it is, and honestly, how beautiful it is. What do you think about it?
Well, this is a great community. This is Flossmoor, Illinois. Great small town, has a great downtown, which is where we are. Great leadership in Flossmoor. But the thing I love about Flossmoor is not only the diversity of the community. My kids went to school right down the street from where we are right now for middle school and grammar school. And just they're still friends with many of those friends today. The mayor of Flossmoor and I just happen to have been friends for the last 20-something years. She didn't know she was getting in politics either. And then I'm in politics. So here we are. And then this is a place where people come out. We come out to this restaurant. This is a great new restaurant that's here. This is like my hangout place. And I love this place and all the places around here. So I think that's what community is all about, bringing people together, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's at live music that they're going to have here soon. They're going to have the Philharmonic comes here. There's a Metro station right here. Many times when I talk with Metro about transportation, I said, I put my greatest commodity, my children, on that Metro train. They went to high school from that station right there and went to high school. So that's what community is all about. You see people everywhere you go. You see them in the coffee shop, you see them in a restaurant, you see them on the train, you see them driving down the street. And I feel that sense of community, not just in this community, but many communities throughout the 2nd Congressional District.
And so right now you're in a race to represent this community on the national scale in Congress as this Democratic candidate for the 2nd District. How important is that to you, and what is the fight you want to drive home for this community?
Well, it's very important to have representation that looks like a community in Congress, because people want to feel like, okay, if there's an issue happening, since she's from where I'm from or thinks like I think, she's going to represent the values that I have as the person voting for things across multiple different interests.
And so, sorry to interrupt you, what are some of those values you think you hold that represent this community?
Well, some of those values are really just the sense of family, the sense of making sure we have what we need in the community. We see people out here working. This is a road that had a lot of issues. This so happened, people want their roads fixed. People want to know that if they come out, not only are they safe, but they have ability to get around town, go from one town to another. So also the ability to have a safe and vibrant community from economic development standpoint. There's many businesses here that are growing or have started here. We need to replicate, yes, and we need to replicate that across the 2nd Congressional District. That's one of the big things I want to do. And we also want to eliminate the healthcare deserts that we experience in multiple communities. So let me just go back. So we're in the middle kind of the district, the 2nd Congressional District. The district starts in Chicago.
All the way up there?
On 43rd Street in Chicago. So it represents the Bronzeville neighborhood, South Shore, kind of a little bit of Hyde Park, Roseland neighborhood, Pullman neighborhood, as you mentioned. My great-grandfather was a Pullman porter in that neighborhood. And then comes out to the south suburbs where we are right now. We're kind of in the middle of it. Then the district goes all the way to Kankakee and Danville. I was in Kankakee yesterday, actually, doing a youth engagement thing there. So I kind of think of it as 3 distinct areas: urban, suburban, and rural.
Good mix.
Nice mix. And the interesting point about all of the parts of the district is they all have pretty much the same things in common. They all are looking for economic development. They're all looking to eliminate healthcare deserts. They're all looking for better transportation within and without, internally, externally, and within the district. And they all want to have a great community that they can have their children feel safe in, they feel safe in. I heard that in Kankakee. I met many people in Kankakee who've been there for generations, and that's their home. People want to feel good about their home.
And I think those are a bunch of great ideals and great values for a community like this. And I have to ask, do you think you're the right person to lead the fight for those things in this district?
Absolutely, yes. And I get reassured of that every single day. Just, sometimes you wonder, am I making a change? Am I making an impact on people? And I was at a big picnic the other day, and that was in my district, actually. It's called the Chosen Few Picnic. Yes. House music, thousands and thousands of people there. multiple people said things to me, but someone said, you might not remember this, but I called your office and I spoke with you, and it was about some trees hanging over the road and it was blocking her way. And she said, you guys came and fixed it. So she says, you know what? From now on, every year, they just come and check on it and make sure it's okay. So that's what that's a small thing, but that's a big thing to someone who lives in a community. Yep. You want to know that you have access to your public officials. You want to make sure they're responding to your needs and doing what you ask. And then you want to make sure it's for something.
Absolutely. I think that's a great thing to focus on the people, because the people is what makes up our communities, and without them, where would we be?
No, there's no community without people.
Exactly.
No.
And so, but a part of those people, and a part of this show, a big part of this show for me, is the 18 to 24 age range. What experience do you have with that age range, and what do you think about them?
Well, the experience I have is I have two sons in that age range.
What?
So my boys are 22 and 21. And as I look at what they're experiencing as young people coming out in the world, one's already out of school, one's still in school, in college, and the things that they're thinking about might be a little bit, I might have a more influence because of the work that I do, being a political figure, right. But they still are trying to make sure that they have a place to live. My son lives in DC. DC is very expensive.
Yes.
And he's looking to get his next place. Should he buy a place? Can he buy a place? Or should he rent? Rent is very expensive. My other son lives in Philadelphia. He goes to UPenn, and that's also very expensive. So young people, not just my kids, but their friends, their contemporaries, that age group, 18 to 24, I know a lot of them. I have nieces, nephews, all in that age group. And they are talking about the high cost of living, just living, and not the ability to necessarily get a job very easily without experience. You have to get experience to have a job. And where are they going to live? How are they going to pay for health care? Some kids in that age group, I think they forget that they're on their parents' phone service. So
I don't.
You don't forget that?
No.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's a bill you might not have to pay right away.
Right.
But that's expensive. Having a cell phone is expensive. Buying groceries is expensive. Going to have car insurance and a car, that's expensive. So how do we make sure that we are giving the next generation the tools they need to succeed? Right. It's not just get a job.
Right.
It can't just be that. But what's the community going to do to help you? What can government do to help you get access to the money that you need to actually get a house? What is there affordable housing in the areas that you want to be in? Like I said, this district is suburban, urban, and rural. What they all have in common is lack of affordable housing in every different aspect. How are we going to retain our youth, the 18 to 24-year-olds, to stay in this community if they can't afford to live? They don't want to necessarily live with their parents. They might want to live on their own. Some of us parents are like, no, we want you with us. But we want you to go out on your own and explore life. But if you can't afford it at all, that makes it extremely difficult.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to wrap up the first part of this interview. I'd like to join you on the other side of the bar and go to our main course in those issues the 18 to 24-year-olds are facing and how you plan to address them on your race to Congress.
Absolutely. Okay.
Hey, if you were watching this interview and thought, wow, that restaurant looks really cool, that's because it is. And not only is it cool, the people inside it are way cooler. They were nice enough to let me host this episode all morning long and help me out with some of the setup. So please, address on the screen. When you have a free minute and a free meal, go check them out. I promise you won't regret it.
Welcome back after the break. And now we're on to the main course after some drink talks. We're here on the issues that the 18 to 24-year-olds, and not just 18 to 24-year-olds are facing, but the issues that matter the most to them based on a national survey. And so I want to talk about one that's close to your background and close to my heart, affordable health care. I know that you have, before your political career started, that was your background. Can you tell me a little bit more about that in your own words?
Sure, yeah. Well, I came from the healthcare industry where I was addressing healthcare disparities, dealing with genetic diseases, and how people can afford care for these medical issues. Now we see ourselves in a huge crisis with not only affordability for healthcare, but slashing and cutting. So this administration has cut $880 billion from our healthcare budget. And my focus will be to not only replace that, so we need to put that back, but also to expand. We need to focus more on preventative medicine, preventative care, and to expand it to include vision care, dental care. Why? Because these are also issues that can inhibit your ability to have a healthy, prosperous life. So I tell one story, like in third grade, that's when my son realized he couldn't see the board.
Really?
And needed glasses.
Yeah.
So we have vision care,
Yeah.
but many people do not have vision care. How can they get glasses and an exam? In third grade, if my son didn't have glasses, he would have sat in the class and not been able to see, which means you can't learn. So these are all things that just are easily fixed, but our healthcare system is so broken that we don't have the right pieces of the puzzle in place to help people. And it certainly doesn't help when we have cut to the extent that we have right now. People are suffering, paying high premiums that they're not going to be able to afford. When I was out at train stations during my primary, I'm talking to people and people were telling stories. Most of the stories were related to healthcare issues or lack thereof.
And I know the story with 18, 24-year-olds is, hey, we're starting to get off our parents' insurance. For those of us that are on the parents' insurance and entering that world of signing up for healthcare, looking at the plans and looking at how vast the system is, but also how broken it is.
Right.
What battles are you facing and what are you seeing from the political side of things and on what 18, 24-year-olds are doing on that end?
Well, the battle is the cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a huge battle. So if you can't have access to even buy that health care right now. So many people are foregoing getting any sort of coverage because they can't afford it. So what does that do? That prolongs disease. That makes you not have problems. I just spoke to someone yesterday and he's like, yeah, I don't have any health care because I'm healthy. He was young. I mean, I was like, you're healthy now. I said, but really, you should get some kind of baseline assessment with a primary care physician so you know where you are while you're healthy in case something happens. And why does that help you? Eventually, something could happen. You could get in a car accident.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you need to know like where you were before that happened. And if you don't even have a primary care physician who's been monitoring you or watching you and seeing what's happening, then you don't know what direction to go in. Right now, that's the case. Probably many people in the 18 to 24-year-old category. I'm healthy, I'm good, I don't need health care. God forbid something happens, I'll deal with it then.
Right.
But when you deal with it then where are you going? You're going to the emergency room.
With no insurance.
With no insurance. And emergency rooms are not the place to go. They're for an emergency, obviously, but they're not the place to go to get primary care, to get preventative care. So I feel that we should encourage people to have a primary care physician so they know you. They say, oh, I know your history. And then if something happens, I know how you might respond to that, but also monitoring you so that you have some kind of healthcare plan.
Right.
That's the other thing I've been a huge advocate for is maternal health for women.
That's very
That
important.
definitely affects the 18 to 24-year-olds, women.
Yes.
Because we have a maternal health crisis right now where women are dying in childbirth.
Tell me more about that.
So it's just an unfortunate place that we're at that we have no explanation for. So I've held hearings in my role as commissioner. I've done interviews and talked about how we can get better outcomes for women. So one of the things that I did was implement our first ever doula program. Not sure if you're familiar with doulas. Doulas are providers that come in, not as a physician, not as a nurse, but they help the family. They help the woman who's having the child and give her, kind of more information of things that they should be on the lookout for. So they're kind of like a guide to empower, and they have been very instrumental in helping save lives.
That's wonderful.
So we have the first ever doula program here in Cook County as a part of Cook County Hospital. And I'll be anxious to see, this only been one whole cycle, 1 year it's been in effect. So I'm anxious to see what those results are. But I'm like a results-driven, outcomes-focused person where government can play a role in improving outcomes for the healthcare of people.
And I just want one last question about healthcare directly related to that. You talk about wanting to restore those massive slashes and cuts that the administration has currently put on it. How do you envision getting those cuts back when if or when you get elected into Congress?
Well, they're going to come back because we're going to take back the House. So that's going to be number one. Number two will be focusing on, like I keep mentioning about this district being suburban, urban, and rural.
Right.
Each part of those areas have healthcare deserts. We need to eliminate healthcare deserts and provide services for people to go to see a physician right where they live. The disparities in healthcare exist because of geographic areas, logistics. I can't get to a doctor, or I don't think that there's anything wrong. And so when I go to the emergency room, it's far away as well. So those are some of the things we need to put in place to help improve outcomes. And we need to educate the population from the ground level up to say that you can improve the outcomes for your healthcare and the things that you can do to do that.
So you mentioned geographical areas within this district, and a big part of what we're seeing today is data centers and building them in different districts and all over the nation. What are your views on the growing AI and data centers that we're seeing across the nation?
Yeah, I do think that AI is a tool that needs to be managed, and there's ways to manage it if we put the right guardrails around it. I've talked to many different companies so far in my potential role as the next Congresswoman about what that looks like. And we need to investigate so that we can see how we can put things in place that will help the community. This is, again, a community-driven thing.
Right.
So if a community doesn't want an AI or a data center to come in there to their community, let's make it so that we're having open conversations, transparent conversations, and how is it going to benefit the community, or is it?
Right.
And if it's not, and the community doesn't want it, then we have to find other ways to make these kind of things happen. The other thing is, I keep talking about this district being suburban, urban, and rural. There's lots of land in many parts of the district. The suburban and rural part have lots of land. That doesn't mean you come into underserved communities and put a data center as opposed to providing real economic development for these areas. So I'll be looking very closely at that. That's one of the things I've been in conversation with the companies that I've talked to that are AI focused is we don't want you to come to a community to overtake the community. Now, if you want to come in and be part of the community, how do we do that? Right. And we can do that either through legislation, but we can also do that through conversation and learning about the community and understanding. So I've talked a lot about how social media kind of came and...
The AI is listening.
Okay. Whose phone is that? Oh, it's the phone of the restaurant. That's okay.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like the Matrix when they finally pick up and now we're talking about AI and they finally got us.
Well, it's going to be on all our phones now too. But social media had no guardrails when it first came to be.
And I know, so my generation is the first one to start using AI mainstream.
Yes.
And when you look about how my generation is entering the workforce now, going out there, how do you even start to picture how that looks in the workforce and looks in everyday life with how we're starting to use it?
Well, I think different industries are already examining what that looks like. Healthcare, for instance, it is going to be a real big time saver to use AI technology and looking at patient records and kind of seeing what medication someone might have been on, what they could be on, what's the best course of action for the patient. So they've already been talking about that and how that's going to help improve. I'm all about improving outcomes. So if it's improving outcomes, then I think we should investigate it.
Right. And I think that's a good way to kind of transition into investigating AI has been a huge thing in Congress. And when you look about the money behind it and the way it's growing, what kind of way do you envision that going if you get as a potential candidate? Where do you want that fight to go on a national scale?
Well, it starts with education. So I think that many probably people sitting in these roles to vote for this aren't fully educated on what AI technology looks like, how it can be utilized the right way, how we can build AI into the education system. How can we build it into our workforce for workforce development? How can we build it into our communities? If we're going to have a data center, what does it look like? How can we build it into the community so that it's a positive outcome as opposed to a negative? So we have lots of ways to go on it. It probably will be a fight on many levels because right now we see with this administration, people are not using data to make decisions about anything. And I don't mean data centers. I mean data to say this works, this doesn't work. So we need to make sure that we're educated on it by having the right tools in place to get up to speed. And this is something also that's changing minute by minute, literally every day. So we have to stay on top of that.
And I think I want to go into a topic that you have a lot of data on and you have a lot of education on. That's affordability and lowering that cost of living that's really high right now for 18 and 24-year-olds. 18 and 24-year-olds, their number one issue across the nation is the rising cost of affordability. Can you give me a short summary about what your main view on that problem is right now?
Yeah, my main view on that problem is that, first of all, there's affordability from just day-to-day living, groceries. You know, my husband jokes about the fact that he liked ramen noodles, which I think are poison, but they used to cost 10 cents. I'm making that up, however much they were. They were very inexpensive. Well, now they're like $1.50 for a pack. I mean, still very inexpensive.
McDonald's is expensive.
But McDonald's is expensive. Going out to eat is expensive. Going to restaurants is expensive. I just went to a restaurant where they had a 3.75 surcharge on the bill. So just daily life is very expensive, especially for people in the young generation who might not have a job.
Right.
How are they going to afford these things? So if you can't afford groceries, if you can't afford gas around here is about $4 something a gallon. Yeah. That's kind of expensive. So we have to tackle these problems by building an infrastructure that works for people instead of slashing everything, cutting jobs, cutting services, and also cutting the need to help people in their time of need, which is where many people are right now.
Any plans for infrastructure that you have on the top of your head that you would want to implement to lower the cost of living?
For infrastructure?
Yeah,
from a program, the SNAP benefits were all cut.
Yeah.
So we need to put those back because those affect multi-generations.
Yes.
It's not just so let's say you're a senior citizen and you're helping your grandchildren. Now they don't have the ability to do that. SNAP benefits are cut for young people who might have children. Why are we sending children to school hungry? We can't do that. So those programs also need to be put back in place and expanded, not just put back, expanded. And it goes across the board where we look at taxes on, we have motor fuel tax here in Illinois. Right. That's a state issue, but we wouldn't need to cut that. It got cut, but we wouldn't need to cut that as we see the price of gas go back down. And just the affordability of even having a car.
Right.
There's a car shortage crisis right now too, as far as being able to buy a new car. So all of these things have to come back into place. But we need to also, I say one thing that is missing from many conversations is the voice of young people on how that's affecting them.
Right.
So I'm glad you're doing this from a young person's perspective, but young people can also advocate for these things on every level of government. The more we hear that, then people will say there's a public outcry from our 18 to 24-year-olds. I got 100 letters from some 18 to 24-year-olds, and they said, fix the gas, fix the groceries, fix the affordability for housing. Then we have proof that that's actually what you're saying. So young people, we need you to be vocal advocates. We need you to write letters. Letters still work.
Letters do. I like letters.
Letters still work. Multiple letters work. Going to your city council meetings, going to your county meetings, going to your state government, going to the federal government that will be working better next year. But going to these different levels of government with the same message over and over makes a difference.
I completely agree because the system doesn't work without the people participating in it.
Exactly.
So
People.
we do. I think it's a perfect way to transition into our last and final segment of this interview. Let's take a short break. I'll get right into it on With the Mic.
If you like what you saw here, please go give me a follow on my other platforms as I got way more content coming around with the midterm elections just around the corner.
Now we're on the final course, or someone would call it dessert, because we can get enough of it, or sometimes we're too full to talk about it. And I think right now, it's something you've been mentioning throughout this interview. You've sort of picked at it, Congress and the House, and how that's going to change with the midterm elections, something you're running towards right now in your race. Can you give me an overview of how you think Congress has been?
Well, Congress has had their hands tied.
Handsome.
Yes. So not been able to be productive because of the leadership that we are faced with right now.
Right.
So the change is coming, and it's going to be a very instrumental change for Democrats to take back the House and get back to the work of the people and get back to doing the business of the people. Last week, Congress just got canceled. They said, go home. They were supposed to have been there all week, and they canceled.
That's not productive.
Not productive. So this is also where people could call their congressman and say, what are you doing? Why aren't you at work?
That's the representatives. That's the elected thing. And now with the race coming up, there's a lot of seats up at play. How optimistic are you that the Democratic Party could win a lot of those seats and get those tight races won?
Oh, very optimistic. I think that the will is there. People are tired of inactivity. They want to see things getting done. And as long as people are bringing that right message of, I'm here to help, I'm here to improve, I'm here to get work done. That's the message I've carried throughout my entire campaign, that I'm not going to go to Washington and be a do-nothing person. I already have 5 pieces of legislation I could bring forth right now if I was there, and more will come. But we have to have a focus, and we have to have the right people in place to get what we're going to need to get done to improve quality of life for people right now, because everybody's hurting so bad.
And so something that I think my generation is affected by right now in the current political landscape is the division of parties within inside parties. And so Republicans have been split between traditional Republicans and more far-right Republicans. And now Democrats have seen a split between Democratic Socialists and Democrats.
Right.
You yourself are a Democrat. How do you view that split within the Democratic Party, and how do you think that's going to affect the upcoming races?
Yeah, I mean, we see people who are winning and being called Democrat Socialist because they are claiming to have a different agenda. But I do believe in the collaboration and consensus building that should exist within not just the Democratic Party, but really all of Congress. But we'll start with the Democratic Party first. So the consensus building comes from having conversations. So how are those conversations going to go? I look at myself as, just from my background and the things that I've done as a professional, in the world, that I'll be able to have those kind of conversations. What are we talking about? We can't just have these obscure conversations and say, well, I'm only going to do this and I'm only going to do that. What we're going to do is improve healthcare.
Right.
I'm going to be results driven on improving outcome. What we're going to do is make sure affordability is something that's not just for some, but it's for all. What we're going to do is have affordable housing. What we're going to do is make sure we're engaging people and have that big tent mentality where we're talking with people about the things they're concerned about, not talking at people.
Right.
So I think that from what I'm hearing, that seems to be what the so-called Democrat Socialists are talking about. So we might be on the same page on certain things.
Right.
And it's getting there. It's one thing to be someone who thinks you're going to legislate just by having ideas. I'm going to legislate by doing things that we can actually get done, bills that we can actually pass, and meaningful legislation that can go right to the source and say, because of this, you're able to go to the doctor.
Right. And so I've heard this from Democratic Socialists personally, is that a big part of their plan is to raise the billionaire tax and make that a thing, and so use that tax money to support things like healthcare, affordable housing. What's your opinion on that? Is that a plan that you want to take?
Yeah, well, actually, I just introduced something here at Cook County to put a referendum on the ballot to test the temperature.
Okay.
Would people support a billionaire tax?
Okay. What did you see from that?
We haven't seen it yet, so
It
it
sounds
hasn't
okay.
gone on the ballot. So we're just starting that conversation actually tomorrow.
Very cool.
And if it gets on the ballot in Cook County, so it's just for Cook County, that we would see, are people going to support something like that? But how are we going to know if people support it or not without asking them?
Exactly.
So that's what
so.
I mean about. So we have to have, and what will happen once we ask them? We'll have data to say, this many people said they like it, this many people said they don't like it. So let's see if we can either fix that language of it, make it more meaningful, make it more engaging so that people can buy into it. But this is to have a 3% millionaire tax so that it goes straight to improving property taxes and education funding.
What other data are you seeing to support some bills you have going on right now? I mean, you talked about a climate change bill when we were just talking, you and me, you're talking about a domestic violence program that you just put in place. Can you talk about like how that data you're getting right now is supporting your race and supporting the programs you want to put into place?
Well, we have to get there
Right.
with many of these things on the federal level.
Okay.
So right now there's inactivity, as I keep saying. So I've introduced legislation here in Cook County to look at climate change and environmental justice. And I brought that to NACO. NACO is National Association of Counties, where we, as all county commissioners from across the country, put forth legislation that we want to urge Congress to do something about. One of mine was for climate change. And so this is what we're up against. When I even went to present this in front of the people at NACO, you have to go through a committee. And before I even was able to discuss what it was, somebody yells out, well, climate change is a hoax. So this is what we're up against. And then many people started clapping. So that means they agreed with that philosophy. It still passed, but the point is education. How is climate change a hoax? They just are into sound bites, and they're also into just yelling out things with no backup, and then getting the people who agree with them to support that initiative.
Climate change is a hoax. That's
I've heard it
rough.
several times too in different audiences.
And not from just like people on the street, but from like elected officials.
Elected and people on the street, which
Yeah.
makes it equally as bad. People on the street think so too.
Opinions,
Yeah.
not data driven though.
No. But see, that's why in all conversations we have to have both sides.
Right.
So we have them because they're loud.
Yeah.
And climate change is a hoax. And then people start repeating it. So we need the other people saying climate change is not a hoax. And here's the reasons why.
And so I always want to end my interviews with addressing that division between elected officials with people, division between elected officials and division between people with opinions, and getting anything done, that inactivity. What gives you hope that the system can start being productive, that the gears can start moving, and that 18 and 24-year-olds can see change as they continue to grow up and they see a broken system right now over them?
Well, what gives me hope is I get interviewed like this. Honestly,
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you're engaged. You're spreading the word out, and so it gives me hope that people are paying attention. That all movements in this country and probably other countries as well started with young people. Movements for change start with young people. So unfortunately, we have to call on you young people. You need to be the ones leading this change, eliminating the division, being part of the process, and really engaged on every level of government. And I keep reinforcing the fact that every level of government matters, because if we work together on every level of government, we will see some change.
Right.
So that gives me hope also. And I hope when I go to Congress, I'm able to bring that experience there with me.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you on your way to this race. I wish you the best of luck to you and your campaign. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
you
you
for
so
making the time
much.
for me.
All right, I appreciate it.
And it's been another episode of With the Mic right here at Flossmoor Social. Come check them out. It's a beautiful restaurant. I had a great time talking here. Very hospitable right here in Flossmoor. Thank you so much, Commissioner Miller. And we'll see you on the next episode of With the Mic.
Yeah, it's not like our editor's here with us. That's not our problem.
Yeah, who's editing?
Mike.
I had all of them, dude.
Yeah, he does everything. He post-production. He edits.
Cries.
Does the graphics. Uploads the Substack.
Is that what I've been hearing across the wall the last couple nights? Just screams?
Just crying.